What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So guys, channel membership is now live. Link is in the description and the first comment. Do check it out. That would really help support the channel. So let's start this video with this picture of Derek, the reigning Arnold champion. And this, by the way, was posted by Goodvito. And with that amazing caption, giving a lot of respect to a guy whom he's gonna be sharing the stage with in another 9 days time. So this is a former Miss Olympia trying to make history by setting up this goal, by winning 3 of the biggest shows in the entire men's bodybuilding in 1 calendar year. So there was just no way anyone could have predicted that Derek, after winning the Arnold, he would continue to diet for another 10 weeks and jump into this year's Pittsburgh Pro as well. While a lot of us see that as a big risk by Derek, in case he loses this show, because if that happens, he's gonna lose all of his momentum going into this year's Miss Olympia. All the momentum that he gained by beating the reigning Miss Olympia Samson Dauda at this past Arnold. But that being said, most of us see Derek losing this show if only he comes in off, if only he misses his mark. And that is something which is always a possibility, no matter how good you are, and regardless of all the hard work by any athlete out there, and also by the coach that these guys put in any prep. Sometimes things just do not go in your favor, and something can go wrong. A small minor variable leading into the show in the last week, and that can just totally mess up your luck. Now, as of right now, all of the training updates posted by Derek, he looks as shredded as he did for this past Arnold, Ohio, but at the same time bigger and fuller. Now this time there weren't any comments that Derek won't be ready for this one. Unlike the Arnold, Ohio prep, the people thought that he was behind when he was about 5 weeks out. But this time, he was just so lean, even at the start of the prep. So this is the very first time in Derek's pro career where he is doing that many shows, and that too in just a matter of a few months. So this will also paint a good picture on whether he's an athlete who gets better the longer he diets, or is it the other way around. So there isn't any footage of prime Dorian Yates training his back, but we are living in this era and watching Derek's back slowly evolving into the greatest ever. And that is a treat for all of us bodybuilding fans. Fuel your workouts with the best supplements in the game and use the code FAZI10 to get 10% extra discount. The operation getting peeled to the bone is underway as Regan Grimes now is on fish and greens, meaning he's going through the worst phase of the prep where he's gonna have to endure that smell of the fish and also the lowest possible carbs throughout this prep so far. But that being said, these might be the most rewarding weeks in terms of how his physique changes, because this is the time when we will all see the biggest changes, and I am talking about the visual changes in his physique. So Regan also posted more training updates, still looking very big, very round, which by the way is a great sign. So the biggest challenge for him and his coach Stefan during this prep, that was to maintain all that size that he put on during this very long off season, while at the same time bring out the conditioning and getting him to his most right version ever. And that is something that Regan has always struggled, especially that was the case with his former coach Milos Sarcev. Now Stefan himself also wasn't really sure on how much of that new muscle Regan is gonna be able to maintain while getting ripped, because Regan has a big frame and he still lacks that muscle maturity. So there is gonna be 1.5 years gap between Regan's last show, which was the Olympia back in 2023, to this upcoming New York Pro and California Pro. So on paper, he needs to be considerably bigger. So he needs to have noticeable amount of size difference and also a lot of new muscle tissue on his frame this time around. So among those tall guys, he has one of the best structures out there. And there is a reason guys like Jay Cutler and Samir Benoot and also Milos, they have always said that Regan is the type of guy who can be Miss Olympia if he has the same level of dedication as Jay Cutler himself had when he was young and chasing Ronnie Coleman. But first of all, Regan really has to show up at his A game at this upcoming New York Pro, or maybe at California Pro. And if he does that, that's probably gonna be an easy win for him. Next up, we have a 10 days out physique update from the mutant Nick Walker. So this is what happens when the freakiest bodybuilder in the world, he poses in the most perfect gym lighting, fully pumped up, post-workout. Unlike most of his previous updates, which were fasted in the morning, without any pump, and without any lighting. So these new pictures kinda made people question their picks for this upcoming Pittsburgh Pro. Because this is Nick, being fully depleted at the moment. He posted this recent story, which means he's training and resting in this final stretch of this year's Pittsburgh Pro prep. And him and his new coach, they are also pushing for extra conditioning as well. So all things considered, it feels like nobody's gonna touch Nick Walker when it comes to having that sheer amount of muscle mass and that freak factor. Yes, the lighting, that won't be this good when these guys step on the stage. But if you were judging Nick Walker based on his fasted basement pictures and thinking no progress has been done, well, these certainly are gonna change your mind. That being said, most of us think that it still is Derek's show to lose, and I'm gonna say rightfully so. But I have hardly came across any prediction for this year's Pittsburgh Pro where Nick is getting beat by Martin-Fitzwater. So if Nick Walker comes into this show and he wows the crowd and the judges and maybe beats Derek, and that too convincingly in some shots, like the side chest and the most muscular, he will open this season on a very high note. And if he in fact places one up here, he would easily win the Nile Pro for the third time in his career and make it to this year's Olympia stage. Now we know he's coming into this year's Pittsburgh Pro with the sole intention of winning this one and beating Derek. And honestly, after not doing the Olympia for 2 years in a row, he did a pretty damn good job at creating a lot of hype around him and around his comeback. Next up, we have a 14 weeks out physique update from Nile, the guy who has all the tools to be the future of classic physique division. So if his symmetry that looks like this at this moment right now, when he's weighing 260 pounds at the peak of his off-season, just wait till this guy starts the prep. And just imagine when this guy is truly peeled and how it's gonna look like on this year's Tampa Pro stage. So Nile has arguably the smallest waistline in the entire classic physique division, apart from maybe Yemi, and he was able to make quite a good impression at his Olympia debut last year. I think he's gonna make the weight on the dot since he's a tall guy and he already looks so damn lean, and that too at the starting point of his prep. So Nile finished just outside of that top 10 at the Olympia last year, and I believe he's definitely moving up this year. So it doesn't matter what your definition of classic physique is. You look at the structure of this guy and immediately say that is 100% classic in its truest form. So Nile made a great impression by going up against Romondino in the post-Olympia show. The combination of massive quads along with that tiny waistline and huge arms, that makes him look so eye-pleasing, and that too standing next to anyone on the stage. And he has the ability to get so bone dry and peeled as well. So I'm gonna say this again, watch out for this guy in 2025. He will make quite a solid impression in every single show that he enters. Next up, we have the physique update from Bruno Santos, the guy from Brazil who won Europa Pro last year, beating a guy like Andrea Presti, and he made his Olympia debut last year as well. So Bruno has been getting leaner with every passing week, which clearly indicates that he has a show planned in the near future. But he has to wait for these shows, which are happening in May, because he isn't a top 10 Olympian as of right now. He has to pick a show based on the level of competition to have more of a realistic shot at winning it and to qualify for the Olympia this year. So considering that he's a thickly built guy, very dense, with not the smallest waistline out there, he still does a pretty good job at hitting those vacuums, which kind of shows that all these guys, including Bruno, they do a lot of vacuum practice throughout the year. So Bruno posted the back lat spread, and it's quite clear that he has put on quite a lot of density, especially in that area. So he has some very powerful shots, like the most muscular, where he can showcase his size and also his freak factor. But we cannot ignore the fact that he was able to beat Andrea Presti in Europa Pro last year, because Andrea kind of flattened out, and that too a lot, from the prejudging to the finals. And even with that discrepancy that Presti has between his upper and lower half, he was still winning that show after the prejudging, and that too very convincingly. So Bruno's chances of qualifying for the Olympia this year, they heavily depend on who shows up to battle in all the shows that he's planning to do. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video, and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.